Alright, so we've got the interactable set up to start passing information along to the player, but now we need to tell the player what to do with that information. So let's go into our player base, and then in the event graph, when we pick up an item, we are going to set up a new function right here called pickup item that will take in an input of an item info. Basically what we're picking up here, we're going to pass it into this function, so it'll be an item info struct. And now so we're going to take the item info that's coming in and add it to our inventory. But first we need to see if we have anything in our inventory that matches what's coming in, so we know whether or not it's stackable. So from the item info, we are going to break it. And we're also going to promote it to a local variable. So a local variable is just a variable that's usable only inside of this particular function. So I'm going to promote it to a local variable called item inc. It's just a shorthand I use for item incoming. Probably because I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft back in the day. But this will be handy later on, so we don't have to drag this all the way over to where we're going to need it. We can just drag out this variable. So, when we have an item incoming, we need to check our inventory to see if we find a spot for it. So we're going to get our inventory array. From there, we're going to do a for each loop with break. That way, if we find a spot for it early, we don't have to search through the rest of it. So what a for each loop with break does is it'll check every single item for different parameters, and then once it finds one that we need, breaks it off, finishes it off. So we want to see if the item ID matches. So from the array element, we need to break that info. And we are going to take this item ID and see if it is equal, if the enum is equal to this one. But since we're doing a stackable, we want to, let's drag this down a little bit. We want to make sure that the current stack we have in that inventory, plus however many we have coming in, doesn't exceed the maximum amount we can hold. So from the current stack that we have in our inventory, we're going to take that and add the current stack of the item info that's coming in. So this is checking what we're holding, this is checking what we're picking up, and we want to make sure that they don't exceed the maximum amount we can carry. So from this return, we will see if it is less than or equal to the max stack, because if it's greater than that, we don't want to mess with it. We want to pass it along to the next inventory slot or check the next inventory slot. So we want both of these to be true. So we will drag off one and do an AND boolean. And if both of these are true, we'll add a branch right here. We'll plug this condition in, and then if that's true, we want to get the item info here, promote that to a local variable called item found. So that's the item that we found in our inventory array. We want to get the array index, promote that to a local variable called item found index. And then we are going to add one more local variable of a boolean called b item found. That is a boolean. I don't know why I like saying like boolean, but I like saying boolean. Makes me sound French, or feel French at least. We'll make that true. Or Cajun, I don't know what that is. So we're getting the item found from our inventory, the index that we found it at, and saying, hey, we found an item here. Then after we set this to true, from this set, we will drag all the way back to our break. Then way over here, we can double click on this little line right here and add these little reroute nodes just to tidy it up a little bit. Drag this over here, make sure they're on line with each other. You can box select two nodes and then hit Q on the keyboard and they'll line up off of each other. So if we do find that and it breaks, we can just kind of move some of these up just to make it look a little bit nicer. So after it's completed, we want to see if we found an item. So we'll add a branch with a B and a left click. We'll hook this item found condition to it, and if we did not find an item, then we will just take the item incoming, get it, and we're just going to add it to our inventory directly. So we'll just get our inventory and add. Not unique, but add. And that's the false right there. Done and done. Now if we do find an item, then we want to set item found back to false. That way our next inventory check will fire off the correct way. We want to get our inventory one more time, and we want to set the array element. So this will find the index that we're looking for inside of the array, and then we can adjust the parameters inside that element. So we'll hook this here, drag this way over because we're going to need some space. The item index is the found item index. We're going to make an item info from this item info struct. We'll click this open. We'll get the item incoming. Get that. We can either right click and split, which is probably what I'm going to go ahead and do, or you can just break it open, but this works. So we'll just plug each one of these in except for the current stack. So just drag them all over like that, skipping over that current stack. Making sure not to plug the max stack into the current stack on this side on accident, because I've done that a time or two. Just plugging all of these in. Now from the current stack, we want to get our item found info. This one we will just break open because I'm going to show you a little trick I like. We will take this current stack and add this current stack to it, and then set that info to it. So it'll take what we found in our inventory and add what we're picking up to it. So the trick is, if you click this, you can hide unconnected pins, and then doesn't that look so much neater? Just like that. So just like that. Alright, so what we can do now is let's add a few more of these. These are the base interactables. Let's create a new folder in our interaction folder called items. I'm going to right click my base interactable and create a child class of it. This is going to be this is a survival game, so screw it, we'll do health potion. Seems like a standard. We'll just craft health potions. We won't be able to buy them, but we'll be able to craft them. Move that in. Move here. We're not going to have magic this time, but we can have food. So let's do just a food class. I'll just say steak underscore BP. So when we hunt animals and stuff, we can cook them into steaks. So now we need to go into our item ID enumerator and add those two. That will be health potion and steak. Save that. Then in our data table we can set these first ones. So this one right here is just going to be empty, just to match that first item ID. Now the item ID enumerator and the item data table row have to match each other exactly to a T. Spelling, I don't think it takes punctuation, but capitalization, the whole kit. So the next one is health potion with no spaces. I capitalize each individual word. I'm not sure why, but it's just something I've always done. So capital H, capital P, health potion. And then the last one is steak. So that's all we need for right now. We'll compile this real quick. We'll save everything. Now inside our health potion, if we highlight the self, we can go up here to the default and see that we have an item info. We can now set the item ID to match, and we can do the same thing for the steak. So this is a steak. And one thing I am going to do inside the data table real quick is I'm going to set the item name, because that's what we use to print it. Now this doesn't have to match. You can make it say health potion with a space. You can make it say H-pot. You can make it say whatever you want. That's the wrong, I'm doing that on the wrong dang. That one doesn't need anything. Let's go into the health potion. And that is a health potion. I'm going to set its ID to health potion. Let's see, item ID to steak, and the name to steak. That's all we need for right now, just for testing purposes. So let's add a couple print strings in here, just for debugging, to make sure it's working the way we want before we move on. So on the false, if we're adding an item to the inventory for the first time, we'll say item added. And over here, if we're adjusting our previous inventory stuff, we'll add another one. And this one will say item stacked. Now inside our base interactable on the pickup, right before we destroy the actor, let's do another print string. From the string we will append, and we're going to say player with a space after it, because that'll add to the string and make it look nicer. Player index, add a space before we start typing, picked up, a space, and then at the end we'll break our item info that we're picking up and add in the name right here. And then we'll destroy it. So I'm going to throw out a bunch of steaks. And a bunch of health potion cones. Gonna be hard to tell these apart, but it doesn't really matter for right now. And let's jump in and check and see if it's all working. Player 0 picked up health potion. Player 0 picked up health potion. Picked up steak. Picked up steak. It's not going into our inventory because I forget steps. So back in the event graph of our player base, let's actually call that pickup item function. And then we'll feed that item info in. This is why I like to use print strings, because I get ahead of myself. And then player 0 picked up a health potion, item added. Player 0 picked up health potion, item stacked. Alright, where's my remote? Yeah, crap. There we go. Hold on, bear with me for a second. It does this from time to time. There it goes. Alright, so player 1 picked up a steak, item added. Player 1 picked up a steak, item stacked. Item added, item stacked, player 1. Excellent, so each character has their own individual inventory. So, now that they're picking that up, in the next one we'll start actually going over how to display it on screen. They don't jump very high, but it's a survival game, so that's fine. So I will see y'all in the next one. Let me double check, let me make sure I'm not forgetting none. Yeah, we'll go over this in a future one. Let's save everything together. Alright, now I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.